going on, guys? Well, this marks day 5 of the rebuild. Paint is done, dry, clear coated, everything. And I put the rear suspension, the airbox, and the electrical and foot pegs and subframe and frame together today. It's all looking pretty nice. It's kind of a tedious task putting it back together when you've got fresh paint because you're so scared of beating the new paint up. So you gotta be very careful on every little bolt. And for you Honda guys, yes, I did mask the little badge, little plate that Honda puts on the tube there. And the rear suspension took quite a bit of cleaning. It is obvious this rear suspension has never been cleaned. I went through almost a whole bottle of cleaner and half a roll of paper towels just to clean the rear suspension there. But it cleaned up pretty nice, looks good. All the bushings feel okay, they're not sloppy or squeaking or anything. Got the airbox all cleaned out. So, that's what I did today. I didn't bother filming any of it. It's all just turning bolts and nuts, anything that anyone can do. And it only goes together one way, so it's not like it needs a lot of explanation. But now I am going to show you how to properly pack bearings for my stem here. And then I'll put on the front suspension and I'll probably call it a day at that. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you how to properly pack a bearing, and what I've got here is the head bearing for the stem, and it's a tapered needle bearing. I think they call it a tapered tipman. And like I had said in the last video, I've already cleaned off all the rust that was in this bearing with the WD-40 rust penetrant spray. So it's nice and smooth now. Now, a lot of times when packing bearings, people just kind of smear grease on the surface and rub it around a little bit and call it good. That would be considered greasing a bearing, but that's not packing a bearing. There's a big difference. See, inside, there's a lot of airspace in between these rollers and the inner race, okay? And so to properly pack a bearing, you need to get all of the airspace out and fill it with grease. It has to be completely free of air and just only grease in there. And what that does is it keeps water and dust and everything out of the bearing. It just keeps it completely coated in grease. The grease on the outside, that'll lubricate the bearings or the needles, but it won't keep corrosion out. And so the grease that I like to use, it's not usually what most people use. This kind of stuff, I like to use moly grease, this is Valvoline synthetic moly grease. And it's super cheap, but it does the trick. And especially in these drier climates, it's pretty good. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your grease. See, it's thick grease. And you're going to scoop a little bit out and put it in your palm. Okay? Like that. And then what you're going to do is take your bearing, and depending on the size, this is a larger bearing, so you want to put your finger through it like that. So it's bearing on your finger like that. And what you're going to do is you're going to push it into the grease. Push it in, push it in, push it in, push it in, turn it, push it in, push it in, push it in, turn it, push it in, push it in, turn it, push it, push it in, push it in, push it in. You just keep doing this all the way around the bearing. And it's a very messy job, so if you're afraid to get your hands dirty, don't do this. Have someone else do it. You can kind of use a little bit of pressure too to get it in there. You just keep going all the way around. Pushing it in. And you want it towards oozing out the other side. Might need to get a little bit more grease on there. So just keep pushing it in. You got to go around several times. Just pushing it into those bearings. You don't want to have any air inside of the bearing. You want it to be completely greased. Okay, now I've got build up in here and reuse. All right, and you just want to check it. Okay, so what you can see, where there used to be airspace on the inside race there, you have grease oozing out of it. That means that there is no air left inside that bearing. And then, say I'm spinning it, there's no noise whatsoever. Not making any noise. That means that it's completely greased. So, then you gotta clean up your hands. So, and yes, I don't use shop gloves. I never have. I've tried them a few times and I can't get used to them. I always have to be barehanded when I'm mechanicking. I see the value in the shop gloves and keeping your hands dry and not having to wipe your hands up so much, but I can't get a good feel for what I'm doing a lot of the time. So that's why I like to just do it barehanded. So now you got this nasty looking bearing, and you can go ahead and clean up the outside of it a little bit. You don't want to clean off all the grease, but some of it you can clean up a little bit. You can clean the inside race. There, now you can see what's going on. So I've cleaned it all off, but you can still see the grease oozing from the inside. Okay? That's how you grease a bearing. Alright, so I have my greased bottom bearing on there. And then we'll just slide this down. Over this. And it should kind of bind and hold itself. Or not. We'll get our freshly greased top bearing. Slide it over the top. Where did I put my? You can stay there. No. What do I do with that? Oh, okay. Okay, so just lay this down. Put your bearing in there, and you'll get your. It'll be a lot easier with something else here. Need to get me some garage help. Okay. Alright, that'll just frame off a little bit before this grease becomes part of the paint job. Alright, and then you just got to start tightening this thing down. You don't want to make it very tight. You basically tighten it till it's kind of snug. You don't want it to bind. Hit it maybe a few times on the tight side. Not too much. And just check it, make sure it's nice and smooth. Yeah, no binding whatsoever. Smooth as butter. Maybe just a little bit more. Just a tad more. That's kind of a feel thing, I found. I'm gonna do it by feel. Let's try to get this tire up in the air. I'd be able to do it if it had an engine in there and it was in gear. See how smooth that is? Okay, I think that's good. Next, you put on your dust cap. Like that. And then next, you put on your triple clamp. Okay, washer on top, and your big nut. Feels nice. All right. Next on is the handlebars. Aries. I'm recording, man. I've been Ariesed. That's just payback for all the times I've messaged him while he was recording. I'll take this pad off. You want to try to align the forks with the angle of the handlebars. It's not a BMX bike, you don't want them hanging out in front. You don't want to get these too tight. You got to remember you're tightening into aluminum. So you want to stop right before you strip the threads. Some of you will get that in a minute. Tighten up the choke point. Same thing on these, you want to stop right before you strip the threads. Alright. It's a roller again. Yeah, it's already looking a lot better with a clean frame. Fresh, straight handlebars. Good grips. Clean suspension, clean airbox. Yep, already looking a ton better. Alright guys, later.